Hi everyone, TARDIS Guy 123 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 1, Allons-y. It's funny to think now that the 10th Doctor's era is so far back in the past that we can look on it with such nostalgia, really, because it is very much its own era now, like the Pertwee years or the Philip Hinchcliffe era. You know, it's got that sort of air about it now, because it's been quite a while since we've been back there, you know, and for me it was the time when I was growing up as a Doctor Who fan, and I did sort of fall out of it a bit during the Matt Smith era. And now I'm back into it, not because of the TV era, but more because of classic DVDs and Big Finish. And you know, it's nice that Big Finish has sort of like caught up with that now, and I've gone full circle back to this era, or almost full circle. You know, it's really the Ninth Doctor that got me started on that and whatnot. But you know, it's sort of like a time when many of my friends were all Doctor Who fans, and of course I've sort of like made new Doctor Who fan friends now, thanks to the internet and whatnot, thanks to this channel really, and I'm grateful for that. But at the same time, you know, this sort of brings me back to those times we sort of like discuss the latest episode in the what's it called, in the playground and whatnot, discuss all parts of the episode, theories on what's going to happen next, taking bets on whether or not Rose Tyler will appear in the first episode of Series 4, all that stuff, which some of it I cringe at now, but you know, nevertheless, it does sort of hold a special place for me. So when this was first announced, I was quite looking forward to it. You know, we were all sort of expecting it really for quite a while. There were rumours going around, and then Big Finish announced that they were coming out with an announcement, because you know, you can't just announce something now, you have to announce an announcement. And they announced the War Doctor, which was a huge surprise. Most of us were expecting the 10th Doctor Adventures, and that came like 2 or 3 weeks later. The announcement finally came around, and then it wasn't really a case of oh my god they're back, but more a case of what stories are we getting, because I'm pretty sure we all knew that they were back at that point. We were just waiting for official confirmation and details of what exactly we'd be getting, and they've very much gone with the classic sort of like start of a series thing, because you know, Russell T Davies started off most of his series in the same way. He had a story in the present, a story in the past, and a story in the future, or story in the future and story in the past. Varied on the order there. Series 2 is the only one that didn't completely follow that, because that was sort of like one with a returning companion rather than introducing a new companion. But yeah, so that's what we got here with Technophobia, a story set in the near future for Donna and the era it's from. Technically the past now, it's set in 2010, so that fills that role, and that's written by Matt Fitton. And then Time Reaver is a story set in the future, and that's written by Jenny T. Colgan, who also wrote for The Diary of a Song. She wrote The Boundless Sea, the first story of that, so she seems to be quite fairly big in the new series range of Big Finish. And she also wrote the 10th Doctor novel In the Blood, which is out now. That came out around the same time, sort of coincide with this box set. And finally there's Death in the Queen by James Goss, and he has written quite a bit for Big Finish. He also wrote for the Diary of a Song, and so did Matt Fitton as well. So the only one who hasn't who wrote for the Diary of a Song who hasn't written for the 10th Doctor Adventures is Justin Richards. Maybe he'll get in the volume 2. Hopefully we'll get details of that soon, but you know, so yeah, and he has often written quite different stories, not to the norm, and Death in the Queen follows that as well. But nevertheless it is set in the past, so there you go, you've got your present, future and past going on there with this set. So without further ado, let's take a look at how it is presented. But one second, before I go on to how it's presented, I would like to state that all 3 stories here are available in standard edition as well, so the standard CD cases. However, with that you don't get the behind the scenes, or the, what's the other thing, the sort of like the audio adventures of Doctor Who. I think it's called, a little documentary about Big Finish as a whole. because this is sort of meant to introduce new listeners as well, so that's included here also as a little bonus. But anyway, so there's that, and got wonderful cover right here with the 10th Doctor right there, David Tennant, Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. You have Gully there from Time Reaver. You've got Death there from Death and the Queen, obviously, and then you've also got the cast in the background from Death and the Queen also. Nothing from Time Reaver really here, and the TARDIS is right there. Doctor Who, 10th Doctor Adventures, Volume 1, 3 full cast audio dramas, Technophobia, Time Reaver, Death and the Queen, Big Finish, We Love Stories. Wonderful spine here. Wasn't too fond of the other special edition one that I have. That's The Last Adventure. That was just simply a back strip with Doctor Who, Last Adventure written on it and whatnot, whereas this, it's got a bit more going on nicely. Got the TARDIS there as well, so it stands out a lot more on the shelf. Flipping it to actually show you the other side first is exactly the same, except this is obviously the bit that comes out. We'll take a look at it in a sec, but first the back here, you've got the blurbs for each of the stories, and you've also got the limited edition number right there. Mine is 2,794 out of 5,000. 5,000 this time, not 10,000. Presumably they wanted to make this more exclusive, or maybe the other ones haven't been selling that well. Don't know yet, because the Light at the End, that was limited to 10,000, and that still hasn't sold out yet. That was back in 2013, so who knows. But anyway, here you have the inside, very much the same as what you had going on there. Same back pretty much, except it doesn't have the stuff at the bottom there, so it's a bit more spread out. And now we come to the inside, and of course I love these books, really do. You got wonderful stuff going on right there. Turning over the page now, you can see the individual covers there, or kind of, and then disc 1 Technophobia. Flipping the cover over, disc 2 Time Reaver, and then you have all the stuff on the inside. You've got a foreword by Dan Starkey. If I flip the page now, we have another foreword, this time by Terry Malloy. You can see that there. Flipping over again, this time we have writer's notes on Technophobia and some images for Technophobia as well. You can see them there, what's going on there. Flipping over now to Time Reaver. We've got writer's notes from Ginny T. Colgan and some quotes there, along with some nice little images. Flipping over once again, oh, missed a page there. Flipping back over, you have Death and the Queen by James Goss there. And feel free to pause if you want to look at these in any more depth. Director's Notes by Nicholas Briggs. Flipping over once again, Producer's Notes by David Richardson. And then you have some assorted images of the cast. I won't show you all of these, I'll just show you a bit of a selection there. And then Doctor Who, 10th Doctor Adventures cast there. You've got the cast for the individual stories and production credits on the right. Flipping over now, we have a nice image here, sort of like the 10th Doctor gone off to the side and the cast in the background. Then here you have some more stuff going on. You have Bex there from Technophobia, you've got the Cognoscenti from Technophobia, you've got Gully from Time Reaver, you've got Death from Death and the Queen, you've got Rudolph from Death and the Queen, and you've got a character whose name I've forgotten from Time Reaver. I can check that quickly actually. Cora, that's it. She is Cora. And then flipping over here, you can see same as the cover there, but without the text. Death and the Queen, the third disc. Tenth Doctor Adventures documentary is the fourth disc. And the fifth disc is the audio adventures of Doctor Who. So, and that is the final page if you want to have a look right there. And if you wanted to have a look at the individual discs here, it is for Technophobia, Time Reaver, Death and the Queen, the behind the scenes disc, and last and almost certainly least is the audio adventures of Doctor Who. So that's all done. Now let's take a look at the first story in the set, Technophobia.
This M-Pad's a massive leap in user-friendly tech. Meadow Digital's ahead of the game on the chipsets. Quadruple core nano circuits and a sleek, sexy designer package. Ultra thin. Look.
You're talking, but it's all geek to me. Can we go?
Yeah, I suppose. Help me! Robots running amok. Donna! We're on!
Remain where you are!
Bex, grab my hand. Go, Donna. One of us needs to. And I can't.
Come on if you're coming! Don't want to dislocate a shoulder for nothing! Do not run. We require test subjects.
Technophobia is the first episode of the set and very much mirrors that sort of like series premiere quality that we had during the Russell T Davies era, set in modern day London of course, or near enough modern day London, and is very much taking an idea of something that's sort of like progressing quite a bit. An idea that was played about with quite a bit during the Tenth Doctor era, actually, particularly the rise of the Cybermen, the Age of Steel, and that is, of course, technology and how we use it. And Technophobia goes in quite a different direction from Rise of the Cybermen / the Age of Steel in that sort of like shows the idea that some people don't quite know how to use technology and then takes that a bit to the extreme and has the whole thing of everyone suddenly be able to lose competence with technology, and not only that, but sort of like becoming even more afraid of different things as well. Hence the title Technophobia. And well, it's sort of got that typical quality there as well, and it is a lot of fun at the same time. And of course we have to talk about the 10th Doctor and Donna in this, because this is David Tennant and Catherine Tate back in starring roles of the Doctor and Donna, and they were my favourite of the era. You know, looking back on the whole of the new series, really, they were the two that went together the best, to be honest. And while David Tennant might not be my favourite new series Doctor, Catherine Tate is definitely my favourite new series companion. You know, that combination does work very well, and it's slightly because there's no love going on there, no angst or anything like that. It's purely just two mates going about time and space, like the classic series was, and you know, just having a lot of fun. And Donna's obviously very flippant, and I'm not sure what it is, but they just balance out each other so well and just work together very well also. And they instantly step back into that relationship, really. It doesn't take them long at all. After the first 10 minutes or so, they are back. They're right in there, really. There is a bit of not a false start, but you know, a bit of a slow start. They don't exactly hit the ground entirely running, but it doesn't take long at all for it to get going. And from there, it's just all action, all pace, and that relationship continues to be solid and grow even throughout the rest of the set. You know, that dynamic is one that is so recognisable, and it's definitely got right here, and all the writers do get that spot on, really. So that's very good. One problem I do have though in terms of performances, well, it's not a big problem at all, and I'm sure it will sort itself out eventually. But it's not with Catherine Tate, it's with David Tennant, and that is that he does feel like he's trying to make up for the fact that there are no visuals by slightly over-egging a bit, slightly overdoing some lines and some words, and going a bit over the top at times, which, you know, I can understand. You know, obviously it's probably something that will mellow out a bit over time, but it does something that it is something that is here, and can get a bit annoying at times. You know, his character's an over-the-top character anyway, really. Obviously it's the Doctor, it always is, but here that is even more so, and it is a bit jarring when compared to his TV performance, but that's just something I felt that was worth noting here and now, and you know, hopefully it's something that becomes less noticeable by the end of it. And you know, Death and the Queen, ironically enough, is the worst for it, I would say, but you know, maybe, I don't know what order. I think they were recorded a bit out of order, but nevertheless, yeah, hopefully by the time Volume 2 comes around, it won't be noticeable at all, and he will be back in there. And you know, he obviously is fantastic in this role. He does do a very good job, other than those particular moments, and especially when opposite Catherine Tate, things go very well. And she sort of like she's instantly that character again. Donna Noble is here. You have the sort of like softer side to her character, where she's trying to talk to people on a more human level, something that the Doctor can't necessarily do. And then you've also got those shouty levels where she gets a bit miffed at something or someone, and that is also here, so that's very nice. And obviously that's part of the reason that Donna ended up working, because the Runaway Bride, I wasn't that fond of her at all, but you know, when she was brought back, and after Partners in Crime, and then I think Fires of Pompeii and Planet of Feud are very much the ones where this gets settled in. They mellow out her character, they find where they want to go, they make her more sympathetic. Those are the stories which really did change her character in my view, and a lot of people's views as well, I think, and made her much more likeable from sort of like a bit of a rough start with the Runaway Bride, where it almost felt like Rossiter Davis wanted to do a bit more of the fact that it is Catherine Tate. It's a bit of a spoof. She's not really a proper character at this point, but later she does become that. She becomes a lot more sympathetic, and that is carried across here also throughout the 3 stories. So then, Technophobia, in terms of characters, you have Bex, who works alongside Donna. They're both temps. When I say works alongside, I don't mean as a job-wise, I mean sort of like during the story they have a lot of time together. They spend a lot of time together, and obviously that sort of like temp thing does link them a bit, well, a lot really, and it makes them quite similar characters. She's played by I've forgotten the name of the actress, something Wardley. No, I can't, I'm very sorry, I can't think of her name, but yeah, someone Wardley plays Bex, and she does a very good job with that role. Sorry, let's take this out and look at what her name is. Nikki Wardley, sorry about that, my inability to remember her name was annoying me a bit, and I'm sure it was annoying some of you too. So yeah, she plays Bex, of course, and Bex is a great character, works very well alongside Catherine Tate, because they had been together from the Catherine Tate show, and I'm not sure whether Big Finish cast her in this because of that, or Catherine Tate wanted Big Finish to cast her in this because of that, but nevertheless, they both play temps, so they both get along very well in that capacity, and that very much helps to fuel a certain side of the story with Donna and whatnot. And she works at the London Technology Museum, which is mainly where this is set, or at least the first half of this story is set, and that is sort of like crucial to the plot, obviously, because it's all about technology and all that, and that is very much where things get interesting, because visitors, there haven't been many recently to the Technology Museum, and it's almost as if people are scared of the exhibits in there, and people outside are beginning to lose their ability to use their technology and whatnot, their phones and their tablets and everything, and this is a mystery for the 10th Doctor and Donna, obviously. So yeah, the aliens in this, the Cognoscenti, they are alright, I guess. You know, they're sort of like standard New Who villains, really just one-off for a single story. But they are a bit better than that. They do have a bit more to do, admittedly. They have sort of like that classic tagline, you know, sort of like, we are the cognoscenti, you know nothing. It's very much something of the Russell T Davies era to give a monster sort of like a tagline or whatever. And their one works quite well, I would say. It's quite fun to say, to be honest, in that weird voice that they have. And, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of that there to, once again, bring back that nostalgia. Pacing is good with this story. It is good with all of these, to be honest, for the most part. You know, it is one disc long. It's not sort of like a 2-disc story, so you don't get as much depth. As I say, that sort of like suffers where it comes to cognoscenti. But you don't need a whole lot of depth, to be honest, and it works very well. It's not down into 45 minutes. It is, what's it called, about an hour long each of these, so that is very nice as well, because 45 minutes isn't the best amount of time to tell a Doctor Who story, and having that little bit of extra time here does very much help with the pacing of the story. It means it's not rushed, it means you can add more characters, add depth to those characters, even add a little bit of depth to the villains, sort of like make the conclusion less rushed also, because that's a problem that a lot of Doctor Who of that era and of the new series as a whole really has rushed conclusions, and the conclusion here works very well, I think. It does go a bit downhill towards the end. I will say this one is a little bit confusing at times. There are moments where you think that's a bit too visual, you shouldn't really have done that on an audio thing, or you should have explained it better, just thrown a line in there or something, because there's one scene that I listened to this twice and I think, what? I just can't. I get the basic gist of it, and it doesn't ruin the story or anything, it doesn't detract from the plot as a whole, it's just something that happens, but I'm not entirely sure what happens, because none of the dialogue makes it clear, and the noises at the time is just a bit of a mix of things that is a bit hard to decipher what exactly is going on. It could be quite a few different things, but I don't know, it just I don't know, it's just, it makes the scene even more comedic, to be honest, but I don't think it was intended to be comedic. But I still don't know what exactly happened, the nitty-gritty details there, which is rather a shame and takes me out of it every well, when I listen to that scene. Maybe a third listen. I've only listened to all of these twice. Maybe a third listen will help me to decipher that, but I don't know, it's just a bit odd, to be honest. All in all, Technophobia is a solid start to the 10th Doctor adventures. It does have a few things wrong with it, but nevertheless it is highly enjoyable. You know, it's by the numbers very much. Matt Fitton has written something that is very by the numbers, Russell T Davies era stuff to get us back into this era, so I can't blame him for that. It is sort of like the best way to do this sort of like soft introduction before going off in some different directions in the next two stories. So yeah, it is very much that typical start to a new series, well, Russell T Davies series. So yeah, I can't really fault too much here. Basic, yes, but enjoyable at the same time. So 8 out of 10 from me for Technophobia. Now we move on to Time Reaver.
Ah, there it is! Vagabond's Reach, Tavern of Taverns, most feared social environment in the galaxy.
You've never been up Sugar Hut on a Tuesday.
You don't know everything about me. Ready?
Is this the front door? They don't even have bouncers.
Yeah, basically, think of them all as bouncers.
Watch out!
Oh! Thanks!
Where to run, stranger? 8 hands! That table is natural!
Time Reaver by Jenny T. Colgan is set on the planet Calibris, which Donna describes as a planet-sized King's Cross. So it's very much a place where people come and go. It's a transportation hub. You've got loads of people coming in, going out. You've got all these different ships, all these shipments. It's practically a lawless zone for all the buccaneers and whatnot, as the 10th Doctor describes. And, you know, he very much fits right in there a lot. The 10th Doctor is very much at home in this place. And you've got all these different types of characters going on. It's sort of like a Moss Eisley Cantina situation, and you've even got Vagabond's Reach, this sort of like pub in the middle of, well, let's say in the middle of Calibris. There's no real middle of a planet. But yeah, you know what I mean, it's sort of like a section of it. And you've got all these different things going on. You've got this planet-sized thing. And yet they don't really use that planet-sized dynamic, really. You don't sort of have them taking the transportation all around the planet or anything to get to different points. It is very much all set in a small contained area, which is rather a shame. They probably should have used that setting more, I'd say, and that is my first of many problems with this story. Time Reaver isn't a very good story, to be honest. I will say that right from the get-go. It starts off promising, and it's got a very strong setting. The Time Reaver is sort of like this device which can slow down a person's experience of time, and obviously if you get a touch, just like a simple touch for a single second would feel like a touch for months, days, weeks, years, well, that's not really the right order to say that in, but you know, it's you can imagine the consequences of such a device being used on someone, say getting shot or whatever with a normal gun or whatever would be extremely painful, because that pain would be dragged out. And David Tennant gets to express the Doctor's strong dislike of this weapon. It's a bit like a similar situation to Carnival of Monsters and the Miniscope, where the Doctor doesn't take too kindly to that, but this one is a bit worse than that, to be honest. So yeah, and obviously with this giant transportation hub, having such a device there probably isn't the best place for it, really. And you've got these alien species coming in and trying to enforce law and get everything right. They're not necessarily the best at doing so. So yeah, that's an interesting way to go with it, I guess. But you know, the story just, it's a great idea there, as I say, and sort of like the planet-sized King's Cross as well. You know, great stuff, ideas-wise, but execution-wise, doesn't really pay off, to be honest. Gully, the gangster on the front there, I guess is what he's described as. He's sort of like a brigand and whatnot. He doesn't really get too much going on with him. He flows in and out of this story, and is sort of the main villain, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just, yeah, he's definitely the main villain, but I don't know, he just doesn't really work well as that villain character. He's got an interesting voice, I guess. John Banks does do a good job there. And Terry Malloy is also in this story, playing one of the Sintians. That's it, they're the aliens who have come in to try and enforce order and are doing a very good job of it. And, you know, he does give a very good performance, I will say. And there is one very emotional scene during this story, which just, when I listen to it, is great. I loved it the first time. I loved it the second time. You know, it is truly heartfelt. It is very strong, but ultimately it's the point where the story just goes, nope, I'm finished with this. This has now become a mess. Because despite that single wonderful scene, from there it's all a mess. Leading up to that, it's not much better, really. You know, it's just sort of like different things going on, pacing wise. I don't know, as I say, Gully, the villain, comes in and out of this story for no reason. You know, it doesn't use that planet-sized scale that it has. It shrinks it down to one rather small area. There was a lot of potential here, but ultimately, just it's the script that's the problem with this one. All the performances, sound design's fairly good for the most part. You know, everything's going well, but at the same time, it's just there's not enough good stuff here really, and that is basically all I've got to say on Time Reaver, and it's a shame because a lot of potential, as I've said, but none of it's used well. So sadly, it is my least favourite set. It's going to get a 4 out of 10 from me. Could have been a lot better. The setting and everything, it's all set up, you know, looking at the synopsis, it could have been great, but execution is just where it falls flat on its face, really, which is a shame, as I've said. Now for Death and the Queen, which, don't worry, is a lot better.
Doctor! What is happening, Doctor?
I'm hanging on to your banner, and there's a skeleton around my neck. Oh! Oh, that has definitely never happened before.
James Goss often comes out with these weird and wild ideas for stories, and yet his style of execution is often changing, but at the same time always very experimental, and Death and the Queen is no exception. It's set in the fairytale kingdom of Goratania, which Donna is soon to become a queen of. And, you know, she's sort of like now decided to move on from the Doctor, and that's something that he's not taking very well, and this is sort of like one time where he doesn't sort of like decide to just leave behind, he decides to sort of like cling on, and doesn't feel everything's entirely right here, and that is quite an interesting idea from the start really, and it starts to like explore that side to the Doctor, and obviously if one was to sort of be like that, it would be the 10th Doctor with all his angst and whatnot. He would want to find out why his companions always leave him. Obviously with Donna's ultimate fate, he didn't get to go back and do that because of the whole thing about her not being allowed to remember him. But yeah, it's rather interesting to explore that, and have a nice thing. If you listen to Big Finish podcast, you'll hear about him moaning about all his companions leaving him in the end, going off to get married or whatever, and there's the funny line where she's like, even the robot dog left me twice. Not entirely accurate, of course, he did give him away one of those times, but yeah, that's just something that is rather amusing nevertheless. And he could always build a new robot dog, but anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic there. But it is, there are some marvellous scenes between the Doctor and Donna in this one, and this is really one which explores their relationship a lot more in some ways, and also sort of like the character of Donna, what she really wants from life and love and whatnot, and all those undertones. Meanwhile, there's a giant floating cloud in the sky trying to kill everyone, so fun times. And that is all sort of like set up right from the start. It's got an interesting starting point here, where you spend sort of the first 5 to 10 minutes flashbacking forward and back to get your setup for the story, rather than sort of having say, well, because of the runtime, because it's now and whatnot, you can't really have, say, like part 1 be all of that and then end with the cliffhanger of Death showing up. You need to get all that cloud stuff in there straight away as soon as possible to set it all up, and that is what happens here. First time I listened to it, it was a bit of a weird way to go about things, but in hindsight I see why they did that now, and then the second time listening to it, obviously it worked a lot better for me. And a lot of things did work a lot better on the second time. So often with these weird stories you do need to go back for a second listen to decide whether or not you even liked it sometimes. But yeah, that definitely did help me with this one, a second listen. This is the one that improved the most on second listen. Believe it or not, Time Reaver did improve on second listen, but yeah, Death and the Queen does help a lot from that because of all these weird things going on. You're not entirely sure about characters' motivations and whatnot. Sometimes it just feels weird, just like you've got this giant cloud and a skeleton army outside. Why are you doing these things when you shouldn't be? But it all makes sense in the end. And one thing I will say that is that it does all make sense in the end, even if it might not seem like it while you're listening to it. Just do give it some time, because I was a bit confused by this. I thought, that's rather odd, why is this happening? It shouldn't really be happening like this. But there is a very good explanation for all that, which is quite good. So it's nice to have that in there. Supporting characters, you have Donna's soon-to-be husband and Prince of Goratania, and that is Rudolph. Yep, that's his name, and Donna makes a bit of fun about that. But yeah, he's quite an interesting character, very much a mummy's boy. He is the son of the Queen Mum, who is rather dominant in their relationship. You know, she is sort of like the one pulling the strings and ruling the kingdom and whatnot. She very much despises Donna and is very much a despicable character, really, and that's the way she's written, that's the way she's played. And if you come out of this not liking her, then that was very much the intention. And even the 10th Doctor has a scene, has this one marvellous scene with her where he gets rather passionate about these things, and she's just there like, I don't care, yeah, no, oh, shut up, you silly old man, no. That's sort of like her attitude towards things, and obviously my little bit of naff acting there doesn't really compare to the wonderful acting that Alice Creek does with that character. She does a very good job there. And then finally we have, no, not finally actually, we've got Death still to go, but we also have Hortense, who is played by someone who has played quite a lot of roles for Big Finish, and that is Beth Chalmers. She's played a companion to the 7th Doctor, she's played a supporting role in Dark Eyes. You know, she's got quite a lot of stuff under her belt when it comes to Big Finish, but you know, nevertheless, it's nice to hear her here also. She does very much fit into that this world at the same time. She does do a marvellous job with her character of Hortense. And then, of course, we have Death, as I say, and he does a very good job. I think it's Alan Cox who plays that role. And it's rather simple. There are some quite funny scenes, quite abstract things going on with that character, but also some quite scary things as well, which, as you can expect from a skeleton in a robe. So yeah, that's very nice also. We started this set with an 8 out of 10, we continued that with a 4 out of 10. How are we going to finish it? Well, it's another 8 out of 10 from me. This story is rather weird. I have seen it get a lot of praise though, and I can understand why. It is one of those types of stories, and James Goss does often do those. James Goss has written quite a few good stories in my opinion, and you know, this is one of them, but it's not one of his greatest ones, I will say. It does have some flaws, not everything does gel together quite so well. It's enjoyable though, and you know, ultimately that's what this whole set is, fairly enjoyable. Well, the two bookends of the set, the middle part not so much, but it's just great to have David Tennant and Catherine Tate back, and this story has a lot of heartfelt scenes between those two, so 8 out of 10 from me for this. And box set as a whole, 7 out of 10 I guess. You know, it's not the best start. It was rather overhyped, as you'd expect from something like this. Maybe they should have announced it a bit later. You know, it had been going on for a bit too long, sadly. But that's just the way these things happen sometimes. You know, I think the War Doctor worked quite well because that was like announced in September, then came out in December. Whereas the 10th Doctor Ventures, we had to wait a little bit longer to get that. But now we finally got it, and I do enjoy 2 out of 3 of the stories in this set, which isn't a bad score. Hopefully from here, you know, this is just sort of like the soft introduction really. We'll get some more things going on with those characters, more things, maybe longer stories or whatever. That would be nice, you know, just like more really. More is what I want now. Announce the 10th Doctor Ventures Volume 2 sometime soon, please. That'd be great, and it'd be great to hear more from these and hear what we've got to look forward to next. So if you haven't picked this up, I would probably recommend doing so. You know, if you're a 10th Doctor fan, then definitely do it. If you're a fan of these two on TV, then definitely do it. You know, if you weren't that fond of 10th Doctor's era, maybe not, I don't know. But it's nice to have this book nevertheless. And would I go back and order the the individual releases instead of this? Probably not, to be honest. I do like these books, even though they do cost a little bit more, and they do come with their little extras as well. But I haven't listened to either of the documentary discs yet. But anyway, next review will be of the TV movie. I'm dreading that. I'm not a big fan of the TV movie, but gotta do it for the 20th anniversary of its broadcast in the UK. So yeah, that's that to look forward to. Hopefully it comes out on time. But until then, thank you for watching this review of the 10th Doctor Adventures, everyone. Highly hope you've enjoyed this review, and I will see you all next time with that review of the TV movie. So until then, bye everyone.
Donna, we're on!
Most exciting city in the world turned into a ghost town.
We are the cognoscenti. You know nothing.
The Doctor will help. We both will.
Death is coming.
I have to see the Queen.
Wow. You're seeing them now.
Whatever's going on here, it stops. Now.
What are you saying? They fizzled in somehow, like the TARDIS?
Yeah, transmat from another dimension. The TARDIS doesn't fizzle. It's more of a